So I'll answer the question of whether we have an alternative to the IMF. The truth is we don't have an alternative because
not in your wildest imagination, nada.
With the current situation, that's what I can speak of. I don't think so because because a few things have to be clarified. One is a lot of people argue that it's just $2.9 billion over 4 years, but that is not exactly the case because once you have the IMF is more like a verification. I would even say more like being audited by a big four like a KPMG or a Deloitte or something. So it brings in the trustworthiness. So only when the IMF approves will the World Bank and the ADB and others try to help us.
Right.
And the second thing is also, the important thing is our debt is at 128% of GDP, public debt. So without the IMF, nobody is going to go into a debt restructuring thing. So there are people who say that, we can go to a country such as China or Japan. But you see, China cannot really make the others agree. No one country can do that because of the geopolitics. Nor the US, nor China, nor Japan. But the only institution in the world which has the clout, which has the mandate to do this is the IMF. Even China is a member of the IMF. Japan is a member, India, US. So the only organization which everybody will trust, the ISP holders, everyone, is the IMF. Because it's not just the money, it's also that they're going to do a diagnostic. So they understand that what's going on and the path they are putting forward, the reforms, are probably the right thing. It's going to be the toughest. But let me also clarify that the IMF program, we have already passed through all the toughest measures. So people say that next 4 years are going to be tough. But as a nation, without going through the IMF, we already did the tax increases. We already did the cost reflective pricing, the monetary tightening, where we had very high interest rates. So these things are tough. So the coming things would be easier, though the pain from the initial reforms will still go in. But it's going to be a gradual process. But at the same time, you see, the IMF program, it's something that if we can do it successfully, it's not just about the program. If we can do the reforms, I mean, even without the IMF reforms, I mean, most of these proposals in the IMF thing for the reforms, they've already been spoken about many economists. I mean, even I myself have given a talk on these. So these are just so we have an opportunity to either take the path of countries such as Argentina repeatedly go, or we can do the correct reforms and come out as a developed nation. In the end.
So Talal, you said that we've already done several of the major recommendations in the IMF program, but now, and you said that we need to complete this successfully, of course, that goes without saying. However, Sri Lanka has gone to the IMF 16 times before, and 16 times we have failed. 16 times, Talal. So please excuse my skepticism, but why do you think this time is going to be any different?
So just to add to that, we've gone 16 times, I admit that. But when we never went as a bankrupt nation. So we always went for balance of payments crisis. So we just couldn't import. We go to a program when things are, have to be politically, the elected party has to get re-elected. We just dump the IMF, go forward. And the IMF or other organizations also did not have an opportunity to really force us. But here it's different because not just that we are going as a bankrupt nation, but there is another important factor. Right now, countries such as China, India and Japan mostly, these are the largest bilaterals, they have lent to us. They have agreed to sort of given financial assurances and sort of debt restructuring, though I would use the word reprofiling in most cases. But still, countries such as China, Japan, India are taking a loss. Other than Japan, China and India are still developing countries. I mean, they're not as, their GDP per capita is not as high as the US. So it's still taxpayer money. It's Indian taxpayer money. It's Chinese taxpayer money. It's Japanese taxpayer money. So if they are going to take a cut, there will be pressure from these bilaterals to also stick to it. Because another thing is, of course, we are a sovereign nation and we can walk out of the IMF deal. But then like the governor and everybody says, this is our last chance. After that, no country is ever going to come forward and trust us. Even if the IMF says, if we just walk out of this